Hey everyone, Dale here with Pacific Sun Technologies. I got a really good video to go over with you today that is a comprehensive overview to maximize your return on investment under the new solar billing program, aka NEM3, here in California. Now, this is a white paper that Enphase Energy recently released, and it's really geared for an installer, but I find there's a lot of great information within this white paper that I think you as the end user and homeowner need to be aware of and check out, because it's really going to help give you a good understanding of how a solar plus battery storage solution saves you money under the new solar billing program. Now, of course, we're in the business of installing and selling solar and batteries. We've been doing it for many years now. We're coming up on 16 years. That's a long time. So if you're interested in going solar and making the switch to clean renewable energy and getting battery backup or just battery storage for self-consumption, we're going to talk about that in this video. Be sure to request your quote by using the link down in the description below. We really do make the process of switching to clean renewable energy easy and affordable. And heck, while you're down there, you should subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. All right, so like I mentioned, this white paper is really intended for an installer, but there are some really good graphs and diagrams and context within this white paper that I feel it's not just geared for an installer and should be utilized to help educate those that haven't figured out how the solar billing program works, because there's a lot of negativity around it. And at the end of the day, this is a good transition for the electric grid. And I really kind of want to talk about how Enphase has demonstrated that within this white paper. So going right off of the introduction of the white paper, you'll find that they show an old utility bill estimate, like, hey, if you don't have solar or batteries, guess what? The only company you're paying is the electric company. That's fine, but their prices keep rising and it's getting kind of ridiculous in a lot of aspects, if you ask me. Now, under the new NEM3 program, if you add a solar system, you could potentially save up to 55% in electricity cost. So that's not too bad. You're not getting to zero like you used to under NEM1 and NEM2. If you want to get closer to zero, you're going to need to integrate that battery. That could get you almost 100%. Enphase in their modeling is kind of being conservative, and they're saying you could get up to 90% energy offset under the solar billing program and easily achieve a 5 to 7 year return on investment for purchasing a solar plus battery system. And we're going to get into how they came up with that, because they include that in the white paper. But I think this introduction is a great starting point for any of you that are starting to research solar here in California under the new program. Now, to understand how Enphase came up with these numbers, you got to understand how the solar billing program differs from the previous net metering program. And under the original net metering program, 1 and 2, the excess energy that you sent to the grid, you were rewarded the same dollar value that they would charge. So if they were going to charge you 50 cents for that kilowatt hour, if you were to buy it from them, you're earning 50 cents for sending them a kilowatt hour instead. Now that has kind of gotten more complicated with time of use, but it's fundamentally the same at the end of the day under the net metering program. But under the new solar billing program, things are a little different. Instead of earning a match, a dollar for dollar for your excess energy, the utility companies are using an avoided cost calculation. And what that is, basically, is they're looking at you as an energy source. They're really looking at you in that manner, and they're going, hey, how much are we saving in distribution to not have to send power to that home that has solar now, or the neighboring homes, because your power, once it goes to the grid, it goes wherever. It's just going, it's not like it just goes straight to the utility company and then goes to some imaginary place. No, it goes to your neighbors. So if you're a generation plant, they're saving money by not having to have transformers or distribution points, and that power isn't coming from a further distance. It's coming more localized. So that's kind of how they're coming up with this calculation. It is more than wholesale. So they can still buy energy for less than what they're willing to pay you. It's just not what they would charge you. So as you can see in Enphase's graph, PG&E's rates based on time of use for summer and winter, Edison, and then San Diego Gas and Electric. You can find out right away that SDG&E has the highest rates here in California at almost $1. They are almost $1 during peak time. Edison isn't too far behind them, though I feel Edison and PG&E are at least being modest with their rates. And you apply that to the avoided cost calculations, and you can see that your excess solar energy during March, April, May is earning less than a penny per kilowatt hour in some cases, and a penny in a lot of others. So it doesn't make sense in those months for you to be giving a lot of excess energy to the grid. And you're still going to earn some credits, but this is what Enphase is modeling and what their software is doing on the back end to maximize your savings and reduce your utility bill. They talk about the value of understanding this chart that you have here because it's all done behind the scenes within their platform. And as you can see, most of it's yellow. So most of the year, your excess solar energy, you're going to earn, 6 cents a kilowatt hour on average. I think this comes out to. Sometimes it's 7 or 8 cents. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 cents or 1 penny. But there are particular times in the year, August and September, that are really important, and they're highlighted in green on this chart because you can see the utilities will pay up to $3 per kilowatt hour. I believe this was sourced by the California Public Utilities Commission. I think it's based on Pacific Gas and Electric's rates. I'm not 100% sure on that. It doesn't look like Enphase mentions which utility provider this is directly geared towards, because it is likely that if you're an SDG&E, August and September rates would probably pay you more. They more than likely pay you more in August and September, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And that's beyond the point. Those 2 months are really important to pay attention to because that's when you're going to earn the most credits, and you're going to do it by discharging your battery to the grid. Yep, you heard me right. You're not going to use the power that you stored during the day in those months. Instead, you're going to sell it to the utility company and earn big bucks each and every day. Now, Enphase goes into a comprehensive solution for NEM discussion regarding their SolarGraph proposal software. We don't use SolarGraph to design our systems for our customers. So if you got a quote from us, we have our own solution with a different provider that we really like. And what we found is it's very comparable to Enphase's calculations. And in some cases, ours is a little bit more conservative in terms of the savings. So it's a back and forth. There's small adjustments between the two. Now, it's important to understand the impact of your consumption profile. So that other page is really geared for installers. So I'm kind of skipping it. If you're an installer, use the link, check it out. If you're a homeowner, we want you to understand the impact of your consumption. So Enphase is showing 2 different scenarios here where you have a peak morning and a peak evening. It's kind of hard for a solar and battery system to provide power consistently in those peaks if you're trying to do something more budget friendly. So keep in mind, if you have a larger energy consumption in the evenings or in the early mornings, you're likely to need a larger battery system. Not so much a larger solar system, a larger battery system, so that way you can curtail your energy usage during those times. So they show a midday consumption scenario where the energy consumption is more levelized throughout the whole day, where you're not really having a peak in the evenings and in the early mornings. And that can help you have a better return on investment. So if there are things you can do to adjust your energy habits, that's kind of what Enphase is recommending here. Moving on to the grid-tied, grid-agnostic energy system design, they're indicating this is a solar plus storage design. This is not a solar plus battery backup design. These are 2 distinguishing different systems, and it's important to note that most of the world doesn't use backup. Most sites, if you look at Germany, you look at Europe, they are a solar system with a battery working with the grid. If the grid goes down, the solar and the battery go down. That's it. A lot of them don't get the backup equipment in a lot of cases because it's expensive. And if you live in an area like we do here in California, where we tend to have a pretty stable utility grid, not everywhere, but most of the state has a fairly stable utility grid, especially in Southern California, maybe you experience a power outage once every couple of years. So I know I haven't experienced that many in the last 5 years, 10 years even, and I'm sure you will have a hard time, if you really think about it, of how many power outages you've experienced in the Southern California region in the last 5 or 10 years. So getting the backup equipment isn't really necessary, and it improves your return on investment, which Enphase talks about in this white paper, because that's what they model around. If you want to do the backup, it does kind of prolong the return on investment. I do think it's important to note that there's a lot of changes going on with the backup equipment, specifically the automatic transfer switch. So in my opinion, it's better to hold off on the backup and wait for the technology to catch up. The batteries, the solar panels, the inverters, that stuff's rock solid. The backup equipment is making some changes, and we should have more simplified, compact solutions that are going to be more cost effective at the end of the day that you probably want to wait for. Now, as we go on, they show the backup scenario, but what's really valuable is the difference in Enphase's software over some of their competitors. Now, Tesla has a savings mode, and so does SolarEdge, and other manufacturers like Canadian Solar, Franklin, everybody with a battery is going to be developing and releasing a savings mode. We are talking about Enphases, and they all kind of do the same thing, but some may do it slightly different than others to maximize your return on investment, because that's what savings mode is. Savings mode is all about getting you the best return on investment and keeping your utility bill as low as possible. Right? We want to save as much money as we can and not pay the utility company. In self-consumption mode, it operates differently, and they show that in the graph. It's really clear that, hey, the battery's charging, you're using the power, you're selling excess energy to the grid, and then the battery kind of just curtails with your energy usage in the evenings when there's no solar production. It's kind of a bell curve. It pretty much mimics solar production, except it's in the evenings. By contrast, if you do savings mode, it looks totally different, right? What is happening in savings mode? Well, you are discharging the battery heavily during certain periods to the grid rather than using that energy, because the utility company is going to pay you big money to discharge that battery to the grid. They want that energy so they don't have to source it from dirty sources, wherever they get their power from. I don't know. But wherever they get the power from, they don't want to get it from there. They want to have you discharge your battery to the grid instead. And that's going to create a more stable grid long term, especially as more electric vehicles integrate onto the platform. So Enphase goes into great details about that, and then they talk about how that's integrated into their solar graph design tool. Again, that's not a system or software we use. We've checked it out. We use something else. But if you're an installer, definitely check it out. It's worth a look. But the financial analysis is really what you're here watching this and wanting to understand. So the good news is they base this return on investment and modeling around someone with a peak evening usage and a peak morning usage. So you're getting peak usage, not doing it off of a best case levelized energy consumption on a home. They designed the solar system to pretty much be 100% energy offset. They're not doing 110, 150%. They're not going crazy with the solar. They're keeping it very modest. They're keeping the cost down in terms of the system size with the solar and the batteries. So they've looked at all this data. We've got a 7.6 kilowatt solar system, 10 kilowatt hours of batteries. What have I said in some of my other videos? If you haven't watched them, check them out. You'll hear me say, before this white paper was even released and available, 10 kilowatt hours of battery storage is the sweet spot. It's going to give you the best return on investment paired with the properly designed solar system. And here's Enphase confirming that right off the bat. And you do a 7.6 kilowatt system, 10 kilowatt hours of battery. Guess what your return on investment is? 5.9 years. That is a really fast return on investment for owning a solar plus storage solution. Now, if you add backup to this, it is going to extend it a little bit more. I think what we found in some of our modeling in our other videos, it's 6 months to a year, depending on the product and how much backup you're getting. But in this scenario, 5.9 years is phenomenal. Now, I do want to point out, because I know people in the comments are going to be like, oh my God, that's so long. People are going solar in Texas, and the cost of electricity is nowhere near 50 cents a kilowatt hour or 80 cents a kilowatt hour for that matter. Their ROI is way longer than 5.9 years. And then I know there's plenty of you that watch our videos that have owned more than one home in the last 15 years and have gotten solar more than one time. And if you remember well enough, 15 years ago, I'm sure the solar system costs as much as it is right now with a battery, if not more. I think 15, I mean, we've been doing it a long time. The cost of solar 15 years ago, just to go solar, was crazy expensive. I don't think people realize that. Now you can go solar with a battery, and it's technically still cheaper than what it was 15 years ago. So you're getting a return on investment of 5.9 years, under 6 years. I think that's a win at the end of the day. Maybe you don't, I don't know. But I'm sick and tired of having to deal with the utility company when it comes to, hey, it's $300 this month. It's $500 that month. It's, oh, there's a crisis going on. We're tacking on an extra $80 charge. Whatever it is, it's not worth it, because the utility company at the end of the day is for profit. And if you make your investment in a solar plus storage solution, guess what? All those profits come back to you. They're going in your wallet. They're going into your savings account, and it's tax-free. You don't get taxed for saving money. That's the crazy thing here. I think a lot of people overlook that. It's like you have to fork over hand over fist to the utility company to use energy. If you put a solar plus battery system, you're no longer paying them. Even if you finance it, maybe you got a loan, sure, you're going to see savings up front, but you don't have to pay taxes on that savings each and every month. There's value to that, whether you realize it or not. And to have your money basically made back in less than 6 years, man, there's not a lot of things where you can spend $30,000, $40,000 and have it put back in your savings account in less than 6 years. There really isn't a lot of things like that besides solar and batteries. Now, one last thing I want to point out. If I got you, I hope you're still watching. If you are, be sure to subscribe. But this is really important to pay attention to. So I'm sure under the new solar billing program, we're going to see a lot of people griping about their savings. And I think it's important that installers, not just us, but everybody in this space properly educates one another in how to effectively maximize your return on investment under the solar billing program. Having the right equipment is going to do it. Having the right software is going to help. But at the end of the day, having the right true up date is going to make the biggest impact on your return on investment, because under the new solar billing program, your credits don't roll over year like they do under the NEM 2 program. So when do you earn the most credits? August and September. So when do you want to have your true up date? You want your true up date to be in May, June, July. Any month or two before those 2 months that you can earn substantial credits, basically. Because now you earn a ton of credits in August and September, and you can use those credits the rest of the year, and then bam, you get your true up bill, and maybe it's $500 for the whole year or $100 for the whole year, whatever it ends up being, depending on your energy usage. And that's going to make such a huge impact. If you don't realize that as a homeowner and you go solar with a company and they don't properly inform you about calling the utility after you get PTO to change your true update, yes, you can do that. You're going to be really disappointed in your investment because you're not going to see the same savings as someone that maybe worked with Pacific Sun and helped educate them and help them make the proper changes after they received their permission to operate from the utility company, so that way they could get the best return on investment. And even better, if you want to reduce your probability of running into issues like that, you probably want to request a quote now rather than later. Don't wait till you get a $500 electric bill in the summer. We have financing options available with no money out of pocket, so that way you can go solar now with a battery, see some return on investment here early on, but man, once September comes, you'll have all those credits. We get your PTO all figured out. It takes a couple months to get a system fully installed with batteries. The jurisdictions are having a hard time with the new building codes related to batteries in our space. But that's it for this week's video. I hope you found this really helpful. I really want everybody to keep pushing for a clean, renewable future. I'm really anxious to see how other companies continue to educate homeowners about the importance of having a solar system with batteries. And if you live in our area, Southern California, and you're interested in making the switch to solar or adding batteries to your existing system, or maybe you're building your home for your first time and you need to comply with Title 24 and get solar and batteries on that house, give us a call. Use the link down in the description below. We really do make the process of switching to clean, renewable energy easy and affordable. And we do a great job, in my opinion, of helping you see the value in all those and help be as clear as possible when it comes to what your expectations should be. So go ahead, use the link, request a quote, subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.